You have to be a grinder. There's a couple ways to do it. If you're well funded, maybe you don't have to grind as much. If you're bootstrapping it and you're sort of you got a short runway, then you got to have a lot of grit, and you got to grind it out. And I've done both, and it takes a certain type because it's hard. I think it's the hardest thing you can do. Start from an idea and then have to build on that to actually create a market is really, it's hard. It's not easy. There's a lot of twists and turns along the way. But I mean, my sales team always has been distributed. I never thought they should be sitting in the office. I'd rather have them in the market anyway that they were selling into. So I always believed in that. I think it was ahead of the curve. A lot of people still resist it, and I'm not sure why, because as you described, I mean, why would it be a good thing to spend 4 hours commuting when that could be productive time? I've always been a big believer that loose controls are much better than tight controls, and the more you try to clamp down on people, the less productive they're going to be. That's a whole topic about leadership. I never understood the whole micromanagement style of leadership. It doesn't make any sense to me. If people follow you and they're loyal to you and they want to work for you again when you go to a new place, I mean, to me, that's the measure of being a good leader. I had this conversation with someone the other day. I said, my metric for success is not what I can do personally, but it's like if my team is productive and if they write me a nice recommendation, or if they want to work with me again, I feel like I've done my job. My job is to sort of set the vision. That's what I think good leadership is, and get people sort of on the same path because they want to be there. And it's not clamping down hard on somebody. And I just don't think people respond well to that at all. So the way I like to do it, honestly, is just a lot of collaboration, coaching, trying to share what works or what doesn't work. What I like to spend the most time on is what comes out of somebody's mouth, as opposed to some new slick sales tool. The one thing you can't control is what comes out of your mouth. What do you say? How do you listen? How do you communicate? How do you ask good questions? I mean, that's what I like to spend my time on. And I spend a lot of time coaching and trying to help people get better. And again, everyone does it differently. So I'm not asking someone who's maybe a little more introspective, a little more introverted to be, a super outgoing guy at some networking event. They can do it in their own way, as long as they're, engaging correctly. So, and they're all different. So that was the other thing I had to learn, is that, lots of different personalities. So you have to be able to adapt your coaching to that person. Funny, it reminds me, I remember my dad used to say, he was like a kind of a driven guy, and he said, you can tell when you're sort of successful and at peace when you're not always looking at yourself in the mirror. You've reached a sense of tranquility. It's not monetary. It's just feeling comfortable. Mm-hmm. You're not always thinking about yourself. You get outside of yourself. I mean, I think to me that's feeling successful. Not worrying about everything else around you.